Coming up on Smart Tech today, Matthew, Cassinelli, and I have got a lot to cover. First, we start with the HomePod Mini before we move on to talk about different things for your car. We also talk about Google's AI moves, Ergonomics, so you can stretch it out before we round things out with VR. It's all that and more coming up on Smart Tech Today. Smart Tech Today is brought to you from TWiT's LastPass Studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? Well, LastPass can ensure that they are by making access and authentication seamless, whether employees are working in the office or remotely. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Welcome to Smart Tech Today, where we explain the exciting, the dynamic, and the sometimes confusing subject that is the Internet of Things. I am Mikah Sargent.
And I am Matthew Cassinelli. Hello, Mikah. How are you doing?
Hello, Matthew. I am doing peachy keen, super well, and all around feeling great.
That's good.
Let's get right into it.
Sure.
Today, we are starting the conversation with, you guessed it, did you? Smart speakers with the HomePod Mini. So one of the things about the HomePod Mini is, on the face of it, it is a music device, just like the HomePod was. But kind of underneath is some stuff that we kind of learned a little bit during the Apple's recent press event and a little bit afterward with the tech specs that were released. And that includes the inclusion of the Thread protocol in Apple's new HomePod Mini. So I think we've talked about Thread on this show before a little bit, in that it was Google's answer to the sort of garden state, I guess is the way to put it, of the home protocol happening. You've got all these different types of protocols with Zigbee, with Z-Wave, Apple doing its own thing with HomeKit, Samsung SmartThings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this is a way to offer some forward-looking and forward-thinking smart home communication in a way that fits in with CHIP or PCHOIP, the Project Connected Home over IP, because Thread is an IPv6 based protocol that will allow devices to communicate with one another and do so in a way that is kind of redundant and provides a whole home mesh network for different devices.
Yeah. And this is fascinating too, because it's not, the Thread protocol isn't actually officially what CHIP is going to adopt per se yet. Like, we don't know, but Amazon is using the competing Zigbee standard in their latest set of speakers too. So it's almost like Apple, it's hard to tell, but they might be throwing their weight here, trying to say, like, this is the one that we want to support going forward, especially because people are going to be buying these. And the idea is that I got from this was that you can buy this HomePod Mini and you're not going to have to replace it when CHIP becomes the new standard for everything, versus if you do have other products that don't support this, you might be replacing those in the next 3 to 5 years.
And it's also interesting that Amazon-owned Eero supports the Thread protocol. Of course, this happened before Amazon purchased the company, but there's a Thread radio in the Eero router. So the way that this works is that you need to have a router that supports Thread and basically serves as the entry point for the Thread network that gets created. So kind of think of it as it is supplying the internet to these devices, But then from there, each individual device can go and connect to other Thread-supported devices, and you start to get a web effect. And so even if there's not a way to, because there's a wall with metal in between the HomePod Mini and the smart light that you have on the other side of the wall, if you've got over here another Thread device that is supporting or that that can connect to Thread, then the router could send that message to that device, which then sends the message to the thing that's on the other side of the wall instead of having to do it directly. So essentially, it's going to make for a more reliable service that will communicate with devices, even the devices that are all the way across the house or up a floor and across the house from the router, because of the way that Thread works. And so it's a very smart system. And I like what you're saying, too, about how Apple is kind of saying, yeah, Zigbee's okay, Z-Wave is okay, but we are including this in our network, and this is what we are wanting to do. Because ultimately, what the companies are saying is that above all, IP is the internet protocol is the big communications backbone for all of this, and that is what needs to happen, is that we connect these smart home devices over IP, over the internet protocol, before anything else, and in place of anything else. And so you've got this ability to connect Bluetooth Low Energy, cellular, broadband, Wi-Fi, Ethernet, and all of these different types of communication platforms, HomeKit, Weave, etc., using P-Choip, Project Connect Home over IP. And Thread is kind of stepping out as a big leader in this. Yeah, there we go. If you go to threadgroup.org, you can kind of see some really interesting graphics and charts and read a little bit more about what Thread is doing. And now if you click at the top and choose what is Thread, what is Thread? Baby, don't hurt me. And you scroll down, you can see Thread certified products, and already the Google Nest Wi-Fi, Google Nest Hub Max, Farm Jenny, good old Farm Jenny field receiver, which is for horses. Not just hay is for horses, cool. But Farm Jennies are for horses. And some different modules that folks can buy and add to. This is kind of the modules are more for smart home manufacturers who want to make products that include Thread. You get one of these and it can connect and make Thread be part of the platform. What's interesting is that I don't see, and maybe I've just missed it, but I don't see the Eero on here. But Eero 1000% does support Thread, because it's literally a toggle within the Thread, or within the settings for the Eero.
Maybe
hopefully
not,
that doesn't
fully
mean that the
certified
Wi-Fi
or something. Yeah,
or the Wi-Fi 6 version doesn't.
It does. It's like good to see the Nest Wi-Fi, and I mean, it makes sense that the original, because I had the Home Hub, and I think I don't know if they ever had a Home Hub Max or if it just changed to the Nest Hub Max when they did that. But it looks like I'll have to replace mine if I want it to be on that network. I mean, that was definitely, I saw just in a larger conversation around HomePod, I guess it kind of threads into the next article. Oh my gosh, I didn't even.
Threads.
Just that from the Verge, they're saying the HomePod Mini could be Apple's secret weapon for expanding HomeKit, because it is the cheapest HomeKit device by far, and especially being a $99 smart speaker coming from Apple versus the ones that just came out from Google and Amazon. I assume that it's going to sound better. Like, that's kind of just Apple's game. And so I'm very interested to see this type of competition. But I saw some people who were tweeting, I would have to buy $600 worth of HomePods to replace all of the Echoes across my whole house. And I was kind of like, yeah, you're right. Amazon's strategy did work, because they provided those cheaper things. But once you get along to this realm, you're going to be replacing those anyways because of this increasing standard. And so it was kind of like, for me, buying into the HomePod now especially provides that kind of future proofing of you will be part of the next wave of the iOS or the IoT protocols and not necessarily going to have to replace all of these also, which it seems like that will be the case with if you do get the Nest Audio and stuff like that. So sometimes the whole strategy of launching the same type of stuff all in a row doesn't really work out. Or, I mean, it depends, I guess, if people already bought them. But it's like once you get to here, there are some of those competing features that will actually make a huge difference going down, plus sound quality alone. So I'm very interested in ordering these, especially because I want to do a whole comparison and set them up on my desk and all that. So I'm curious, are you interested in getting a HomePod Mini, Mikah?
So I was doing some quick research. Yeah. The new Eero has no mention of a Thread radio, so that's interesting. They did bake in a Zigbee. Zigbee, so it's clear that Amazon and the others are kind of tousling a little bit. Yeah,
that's a good point. I'm assuming it's going to be the standard, but that isn't necessarily the case. So maybe I should hold off on that full-on recommendation yet.
Yeah, that's upsetting that they've taken out the Thread. In theory, I can't confirm that 1,000% until I have an Eero with Wi-Fi 6 in my hands and can look in the app and see. But right now, the Eero that I do have does have Thread, and there's no mention on the website with the new Wi-Fi 6 router that Thread is included. So, anyway, to answer your question about HomePod Mini, yes, I'm interested in getting one of these. Honestly, Apple, if you want me to spend money on a thing, just tell me it has an ultra wideband chip in it. I know that there's nothing right now that really delivers on, a reason to be so into or excited about the ultra wideband chip, but I am excited about the eventuality of the ultra wideband chip. Right now, all it does is when you do handoff between an iPhone and a HomePod, so for folks who don't know, music is playing on your HomePod. You bring your iPhone close, and it can switch to your iPhone. With the ultra wideband chip, it also makes it so that it can do a haptic vibration. That's all it does. It just adds a haptic vibration when that happens.
Right now.
And then the other now, or once with a HomePod Mini, then it will do the haptic vibration. Right now, it's you see the visual handoff, but you can't feel the handoff, which is just silly.
I thought it worked. Pretty sure my phone vibrates when I bring it near the HomePod to hand it off to it.
You might have to test that because on the website it says HomePod Mini. Let me find it again because it's part of the top. It says coming soon. You'll be able to. And one of the things that it says, okay, here we go. With multiple HomePod Mini speakers placed around the house, you can have a connected sound system for your whole home. Ask Siri to play one song. Wait, no, that's not it. I'm reading too soon. Here we go. If you're enjoying music or a podcast and have to head out, you can continue to listen on your iPhone without missing a beat. Hand it off simply by bringing your iPhone close to HomePod Mini. And coming soon, you'll experience the feeling of your iPhone and HomePod Mini connecting virtually as the sound transfers. So that does not exist yet, this feeling of your iPhone and HomePod Mini connecting virtually as the sound transfers. So I don't know if maybe right now the vibration happens when the handoff happens, but the vibration soon that will happen is as you bring your phone close, it'll bzz, and then okay, I can do the handoff.
Interesting.
And then the other thing that it's going to do is that you can bring your phone close to the HomePod, and then on your phone, it will pull up music options. It says personalized listening suggestions that will automatically appear on your iPhone when you hold it next to HomePod Mini. I was talking to my pal and the internet's favorite curmudgeon, Joseph Rosensteel, on our podcast, Unhelpful Suggestions, about this, and he had a good point. How often do you walk up to your HomePod and decide what music to play? With a HomePod, you're like not right in front of it. You're sitting or you're doing something else and you say, hey, dear friend, I want to listen to this or I want to listen to that. And that's the whole point, is that it's a smart speaker that listens to you. So this idea that you're going to walk up to the HomePod Mini to do things, like, am I going to get up off of my couch and go over to it and hold my phone in front of it to decide the music? I mean, no, I'm just going to say, hey, start playing Lizzo because I like Lizzo.
How wide is the ultra wideband chip though? Like, I mean, that's just a rhetorical question, but just like if you, I mean, I have one right here, so it's within arm's reach. So if I just sat down on my desk and looked at my phone and it was like, what do you want to play on the HomePod? And I just pressed it and it started. They have, I mean, they have
it's
that
a matter
feature,
of like knowing that you're pointing at it versus the phone being in front of you. Sort of as you bring it toward the region where the HomePod Mini is, then it's like, oh, I think you might be trying to control the HomePod Mini. That would be cool.
Like I just sat down and it's like, oh, okay, like I clearly want to play there. All I have to do is point my phone at it and then it like switches. That's pretty cool. I didn't even think about that. I mean,
that's how AirDrop works right now with the ultra wideband chip. That's the other feature, is that I was sitting in a room with Lisa and Leo, who both had the iPhones that had the ultra wideband chip in it. And as I brought my phone over to face toward Leo, AirDrop suggested Leo. And then as I brought my phone over towards Lisa, then it was like, oh, you want to send this to Lisa. Cool. So if
you're
that
sitting
is
on the couch
case,
and could just like point at the HomePod from across the room, like that's actually amazing.
That would be cool.
I mean, so the other major thing that I want is there's NFC triggers for shortcuts right now. So if I could have, when I come up to a HomePod, it does something, that is amazing. If I can just trigger a shortcut automatically, and it's like anytime I sit down at my desk, all of this stuff. I mean, that's already likely around.
That's the future that I want. You know what I mean? That is where, this is why I want a HomePod Mini, because I want the ultra wideband chip, because I know that this is going to lead to a future where when I walk into a room, things happen, and I don't have to rely on motion, because the fact is, after you're sitting in a room for a while, it doesn't know you're there anymore unless you do this. And then it's like, oh, okay, he's still in the room. I don't want that. I want to be able to, the Apple Watch now has an ultra wideband chip in it. I wear this around. I can walk into a room. The HomePod Mini goes, oh, he's in the room. And even if I sit very, very still and don't move for an hour, it will know that I'm still in the room, and it will be able to keep the lights on. But then I can just walk out and it'll know that I walked out. And that's what I want.
Making that noise? Your lips aren't moving. It looks like.
Oh, yes.
It's amazing.
It's actually because I am a ventriloquist, so it's happening. You know, when I was a kid, I had a puppet, and I tried to learn ventriloquism. It's very difficult.
So Mikah. I love it.
You learn about these tongue movements that you have to do to replicate the sound of your lips coming together. It's not easy, and I gave up on it.
Segue into intercom now with that.
Oh, perfect. Yes, moving right along.
How are you? How are you saying this? It sounds like it's coming from a different room.
So intercom is a new feature that has been announced. I've reached out to Apple to get some more clarity on this, because what's not clear is if intercom is a feature that is only enabled when you have a HomePod Mini, or if it's going to work with the HomePod, or if it's going to work even without having a HomePod or a HomePod Mini, because it is also a feature where an iPhone user can respond, and a person in the car can hear a message from intercom and can send a message through intercom. So there are all these different platforms where you can use intercom. So it's unclear to me if this is just a feature that's coming in a later version of iOS in general, or if it's sort of like one of those stupid product license keys where you have to have the thing to activate it in the first place, and the HomePod Mini serves as the thing. Because I guess what I would say is it's more akin to, rather than a product license fee, it's like I don't know what to compare it to, because I would imagine that it's also doing the processing. So it's not just So maybe if you have because scroll back up, Kevin, if you wouldn't mind, to the part where, this area, you can see living room has two HomePod shaped thingies, two HomePod shaped HomePods, whereas the other rooms have HomePod Minis. Man, this is a really wealthy family. And,
on the Apple website,
so ostensibly, you would be able to have a HomePod and not have to have a HomePod Mini in order for intercom to work.
I mean, okay, that's fair. It's definitely a HomePod feature, at least. Like, I don't think they would keep it away from regular HomePods, but it would make it could be a shame to not have it if you just had iPhones and iPads and watches. But I could see that the HomePod being always on and powered and connected to the network and dedicated to networking features, enabling this kind of thing. Like, it passes through the intercom in order to go to the other devices, as opposed to like direct to someone's Apple Watch. Just like always listening and always being available, or not always listening, but just always being available kind of could make sense. But also it would be a shame if it was just like, you could easily do this. I could see them, honestly, I would see it being a feature for the HomePod Mini until next year, and then it being a feature for all devices, because that's kind of the routes that they've taken sometimes of like, I mean, make sure it works right and all that. Yeah, but I mean, like the iPad Pro used to have the keyboard and the pencil as the Pro features, and then now the iPad Air has all that. So like, there is kind of a history of
but isn't there
doing
more
it right and then making it more accessible to other people? Like, Apple specifically has said that on a couple of podcasts lately, that like that's how they do it. So they like bring it down from over time to the other devices. So I bet that's the route we'll see. But it's cool too. I mean, even the article that we linked to is that it works with CarPlay. So you could kind of just be like, oh, I'm on the way home. Do we need milk or something like that? And
yeah, during the event, they showed it working with CarPlay because the dad is in the car and he says to the kids, I've got pizza. Is anyone hungry? And then there's like a kid at home who responds and says, you read my mind.
Thanks, Dad. You're the best.
Thanks, Dad. I'm going to hop on my rollerblades and have a good time. Talk to you later, Dad.
But yeah, this all seems super cool. I'm very interested. Like, I have 2 HomePods now, so I think I'll be redistributing them. Was like, I totally was like, who wants to buy my Sonos? And somebody bought it. So one of them, because it was like, my girlfriend prefers to stay in one ecosystem, I think is the big thing. And so I think this kind of will be the next year, is like a lot of people will be deciding maybe for sure, or like permanently, which ecosystem they're going with, because now is kind of like the time to make that choice. So that'll be interesting. Like, invest now or else you're gonna maybe we'll see how Peach Vibe goes if you're gonna have to reinvest in a couple of years, but it does seem like, at least for the smart speaker game, this is now the time. So it's cool.
Agreed.
Christmas presents galore.
Up next, we are going to take a drive. How are we driving, Matthew Cassinelli? With magnets? How do they work?
Yes. This is the cool feature for the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro Max lines. All the iPhones is MagSafe. So the phones now have that charging capability built in with magnets also to attach not only your chargers, but cases to the phone. And a big thing, one of the first ones that Apple announced is partnerships with other companies, which is just great because this will be supported officially and pushed forward. But one of the things that Belkin is doing is a car mount. So this is kind of going to be interesting to see. Now I just realized too, there's a charging automation for iPhone. So when you put your phone onto the MagSafe charger, you could have shortcuts go off, and one of them could easily be like car driving mode. It's got what?
It's the MagSafe functionality has specific NFC for MagSafe devices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is futuristic as heck. Cool.
Yeah.
I need this yesterday.
Belkin's thing specifically?
Yeah.
Or? Yeah,
Belkin's
exactly.
thing. It's metal. It's white. It comes in white or black. It's metal, and it has a charging puck for the iPhone, a charging puck for your Apple Watch, and a little spot down at the bottom to drop your AirPods. It can do 15-watt charging to the new iPhone. which because of the MagSafe technology, and it's just so pretty. It's really pretty.
The best way for anyone who hasn't really like internalized what MagSafe means is that it turns your iPhone into what the newest iPads do, where they float on the Magic Keyboard case. Now, because of the magnets, your phones is like both chargers and cases and phone car mounts don't need to wrap around the device. They just hold it on the back, and so your phone can just kind of float up there, which does look super cool and in theory very safe. Maybe if you have it in the car, get a case in case it falls off. And I don't know. The worst scenario is like a car accident, your phone just flies around or something. But.
Yeah, it becomes a rocket
projectile.
Yeah, projectile. Thank you. I am really excited. If you go back and watch Leo and my coverage of the event, I get super excited about MagSafe for that specific reason, the in-car reason. Right now, I use a wireless charging dock in my car from Mophie, and it clamps to the sides of the iPhone. And so you sort of put the magnet, and then it clamps to the left and right side. And so when I saw this, it's going to make the car charging dock even better because it's not easy with the mount that I have right now to do portrait or landscape. And so I typically just leave it in portrait mode, but I would love to be able to do landscape for maps reasons at any time.
That's a good point.
And so I'm really looking forward to this magnetic future where it's going to be easy to switch between portrait and landscape for these new ones.
Super cool too. I wonder if they'll do CarPlay without CarPlay, because that's kind of the next two articles are about Google Assistant's got driving mode, and then the I can't say the name of the app, Alexa app, will have its own Echo Auto mode when you have it open on iPhone. And so this is super interesting.
I really want Apple to do this so much.
Yeah.
so much. Even if they tie it to like MagSafe, you have to have a MagSafe mount in order to activate it so that the phone is consistently being charged. You know, if that's the argument that the phone needs to be always connected to power or something, fine, do that. But give me CarPlay in the car, because Android has done this forever. Like you said, now Amazon is doing this. I shouldn't have to buy a $2,000 aftermarket stereo and do a bunch of work just to be able to have CarPlay in my car when I've got a phone that is like, I don't know if people know this.
It's literally what does it already.
Yes, exactly. I don't know if people know that, but yeah, your phone is the device that is actually running CarPlay in your car. When you plug it in or you do it wirelessly, it is using the processing power and all of the stuff on your phone to do that. It is not as if Apple has installed CarPlay on the aftermarket unit. No, it's happening in your phone already. So just let my phone do it, please.
Yeah, I could see this also sounds like a good rollout release, maybe around the HomePod Mini thing too. So, I mean, I would say it's not exactly the priority right now, the out of the home stuff. So you can see them emphasizing the home a little bit more here too, in addition to like the iPad and Apple Watch event. So, but it is cool. I think it sounds like by the time, hopefully, we all are back out on the road doing normal things again, all of this stuff will be ready to go where it probably should have been already. So that is cool to see. It's like he said, getting your car dashboard thing stolen because it has some sort of smart support. It's like, just let me use the phone that I already have right there. So it seems like a good time for car charging, I guess.
Yeah, I would say so. Spotify, which was noticeably not mentioned during the HomePod Mini portion of the Apple event as one of the supported music streaming platforms, has come out with a new version of its app that includes widgets. So if you are a widget fiend and a Spotify user, then you will be happy to know that you'll be able to use the Spotify widget on your iPhone. I have mentioned before that I'm one of those strange fools who for some reason, I have my reasons, but it takes forever to explain. So I'm not going to, but I use both Spotify and Apple Music and have reasons for both of them. And this morning, I was listening to Spotify and thought, you know what would be nice is a Spotify widget. And then I saw in the doc today that Spotify has a widget, and that's really exciting. So happy about that.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, they did a unique thing too, where it will change the color of it based on what you've been listening to, or I think it's the recommended. I'm not sure which one, but it will kind of be ambiently colored over time, which is an interesting way to do it that I haven't seen too many developers use. And what's just nice about it is being able to keep it in a stack with your other media widgets. Like that's a major way that I use this on my home screen. I have in the top right, I have like music, podcasts. I even keep like the photos one and other. I want the smart stack to rotate through and tell me at the right time. So I actually signed up for Spotify again because I want to try it more. I kind of do assume it's going to come to the HomePod at some point. Like, yeah, I think Apple so will be enabling those features, and they're just not necessarily going to be like, hey guys, Spotify, like let's cross promote our main competitor in these spaces. But it is good just to see Spotify. I mean, there was another app called TuneTrack that may have kind of forced their hand because it was basically a Spotify widget that it only refreshed every 5 minutes, but everybody was like, thank God there's a Spotify widget. And then Spotify's like, well, shoot, okay, now we need to actually
people
do it.
Really want a Spotify widget. I guess we'll have to make it.
And they do have like an Apple Watch app and everything too. So that's why it's like, it's good to see them prioritizing the users over their battles on the courts and stuff like that. So
I've just added Spotify to my set of widgets. Yeah.
Nice.
I gotta tell you, if anybody out there runs betas, the latest beta of iOS is really not great. I have trouble installing widgets. I have trouble pretty much doing anything. So just be aware.
I did turn off all my shortcut sync stuff so that I'd finally stop dealing with that stuff. So thankfully I haven't been spending another 6 hours reorganizing my stuff.
In true Google style, YouTube Music in particular has released a feature, I guess you could say, for iOS before it releases that feature for Android. This time in the wearables version, a YouTube Music Apple Watch app before a Wear OS app. Wear OS, of course, is Google's Android operating system for wearables, and watchOS is Apple's and operating system for the Apple Watch. And yeah, there's a simple and easy to use YouTube Music app for the Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Is it easier to design for watchOS? Is it a matter of more YouTube Music users on iOS than there are on Android? You know, could be anything.
I think a big thing probably is related to Apple's development and design framework. I'm not sure what you call it, but Swift UI is what widgets are built off of. And so I think a lot of developers this year had to move to Swift UI, especially at larger companies, in order to work on those widgets. And so that kind of benefited the Apple Watch too, because a lot of the stuff is built the same. But YouTube Music also has little complications for the Apple Watch faces. But altogether, this tied with the Spotify stuff is like Spotify has an Apple Watch app too. So it is cool to see these kinds of things prioritized, especially, I mean, home screen widgets were huge. I think Apple Watch stuff is also doing well because of the pandemic and things like that. It's like people are at home buying these new Apple Watches and things like that. So these companies are like, oh, our users actually want this. Let's serve them, which is nice.
Yeah. Let's see. What else do we have? Google Duplex's haircut booking feature is supposed to be able to help businesses that maybe don't have as many folks available for this. So what? Automation is taking jobs? Is that what this article is about?
No, it's more if you don't have somebody to do the job, automation can hopefully help with you. Or AI, I guess, too.
If you don't want to pay a human being to do the job, then you can have automation do it for you.
That's true, but that's kind of the double-edged sword of technology at all times is one person doing more means you don't have to hire somebody else to do another.
Yeah, we used to pay a person to get on a horse with a text message that I write, and they would take that text message across the United States, and they would stop in my hometown of St. Joseph, Missouri at the Pony Express stables, and then they would pick up a fresh horse, and they would continue their ride along.
Fresh horse.
And now, instead of fresh horses and pony boys, we have iPhones. So technology is just destroying the pony boy market. And now it's destroying the barbershop receptionist market. And
I should ask my friend, actually, who does. She's she's training to become a stylist and things, but she does some of that part. And it's always interesting to see a real.
That's interesting.
Both would not like it, but then it's like, yeah, I don't want to do that. So
my partner has been a barista for a while and just started working at a barbershop here in Petaluma, and is receptionist and is eventually going to, become a stylist. And so this obviously hit a little personally. Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's his job and he really likes it. So no, here's the deal. There's always that concern, and I just think it's important to bring that concern up. Yeah. But I think that there's also room for this technology to exist, and I don't discount that. And the developers who've created this kind of thing. What I think will be funny is when I'm using Google Duplex to book a hair appointment and they're using Google Duplex to do the reception side of things. And so my Duplex is talking to their Duplex, and there's chocolate in the peanut butter, and who knows what happens.
That's a good way to test it, I guess. But
yeah,
it is like optically a little weird for them to be partially like this rolled out and did not go over well because it was just like a robot calling people. And the main thing I think was that it never told them that it was a robot. So it's like, what is going on? Like, this is super dystopian. And then for them to release it in the middle of a lockdown where tons of people have lost their jobs does seem a little tone deaf kind of thing. But yeah, it is. I'm not sure if they're just going to sit on it. Otherwise, I think it might be part of. Overall, they have like a larger AI push, and they have this article detailing how they're using it in your spelling things in like Google search results, and having a more specific passage of answers as opposed to just showing you a web page. Like, that's a major thing that they've been doing. So they've got a lot of AI stuff that I feel more comfortable now acknowledging that it's artificial intelligence and not so much just machine learning, that they've been working at it for so long that they are starting to get into those deeper realms. I mean, obviously Google's always been in the high level of data usage and things like that, but it's a lot of the stuff seemed promised to be a lot smarter than it actually is. And it seems like they're getting to the realms now where they know what to do with it and what not to do with it, which is important too. But I think it's good, like you said, to always question how this stuff is being used. Even specifically, Facebook has been looking back at, they were like, oh, I don't think we really realized what was happening because of the AI, which is like, great. That's awesome, guys. Good timing, I guess. I mean, now better than never, but still, it's like, maybe you should have done that 3 years ago before you unstabilized many countries around the world and stuff like that.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Up next, we are going to talk about ergonomics. All right, Matthew, you've got pains, you got stretches, You got
the stretches.
I've got the stretches. You've got the pains. Tell me what you've been doing to improve your ergonomics and sort of what sparked this in the first place.
Sure. I definitely, now that we're about 6 months or more, I can't even, who knows? Time doesn't exist in metaphysical reality. But now that I've been sitting poorly for the last extended period of time and not moving enough and getting out of the house enough, I've definitely started to notice just physical things that were based off of the habits that I had. So some stuff is that I haven't really been using a monitor well for a while. I have an iMac, but I was always kind of trying to use it as my secondary device and off to the side, or I recently moved it into a different place where the desk is a different height. And then now the computer screen was like way up high and I felt like a little kid sitting in front of it. I'll have to unpack this a little bit because I also use an iPad Pro, and I've always been concerned about the ergonomics of it, but lately I've been understanding more exactly what it's been doing to me. And also I think just some basic things like keyboard, mouse, not being, I can even demonstrate it a little bit for people who are watching on video, but I did a quick unboxing video of a new Logitech ergonomic keyboard and vertical mouse. Goes straight up and down as opposed to sideways. And the Logitech mouse or the keyboard has a giant built-in curve into it. But basically when you're sitting at the computer, I could see very literally when I recorded the video, one where I was like typing forward and holding the mouse normally like you would, and then the other one where I reach onto the keyboard and then grab the mouse vertically, and you can literally see my shoulders go back about 3 inches when I'm doing that, like forward like this versus back like this. And I've used it for maybe 5 days now, and I'm literally getting more work done, which is not, I was like not happy about that because I was like, oh my God, what have I been doing to myself? Because I can definitely, even looking backwards, I could tell there's certain tasks and things like that I don't like to do because the ergonomics of the way that I chose to do it was poor. And I knew that it was just going to be physically difficult to do. But in my brain, I was like, I just don't want to do it. Not really realizing that if I did it in a different ergonomic setup, it would be fine. Like a good example was something that I did last night that took me about 15 minutes that would have taken me 45 minutes doing otherwise. And even like this little mouse, I could tell all I was doing was like rotating, moving my hand like an inch forward and backwards, as opposed to on the iPad, reaching, dragging, tapping, moving backwards and forwards, like just using my arms and shoulders so much. So the main thing that I do want to emphasize is, like, if you physically get tired from doing your work, there probably is an ergonomic issue going on there. Like, I had times where I would try to be doing something and I would actually get exhausted and go lay down because I think I just spent all day, every day, looking down at screens. It's very straightforward, but just you wake up, go on your phone. Like, I use my iPad. Even if I take it off of the Magic Keyboard case, I'm kind of looking down at it and playing games. I have a tendency to like sit and like look out of the top of my eyes in a terrible way that is just like, I can see it in, it's one of the benefits of live streaming is like literally see my physical posture when I'm doing this stuff. Even doing iPad streams, I have a top-down camera looking straight down and the iPad is there, and I would have to like look over and look forward at it. But now that I have a monitor, I can show that in that angle and then also look straight forward at my monitor and use it. And it's oddly a benefit of the iPad not having good monitor support and just mirroring what you're doing, because if you're filming it, then you don't need to look down at it. You can just look at the mirrored version. But it definitely is. It's been concerning to me because, I mean, I ordered I'm currently using my girlfriend's monitor and should have given it back to her before I recorded this episode. I forgot. But I ordered a new monitor from I was planning on it in a couple weeks ago, and then thankfully it did go on sale on Prime Day, which was always amazing. Maybe check for Black Friday if you are looking and investing in these things, because just making those savings also helps you motivate you to move forward and actually take care of your body there. But I'm pretty excited because, I mean, in a separate way also, like I got the Oculus Quest, and not that we'll see if that provides a different ergonomic thing because I'm holding a screen on my face now, but it is resistance upwards as opposed to downwards. So I was curious if it would actually like work in my favor, being the opposite type of movement. But even just when you wear a VR headset, you look around, or I'm like waving my arms doing Beat Saber stuff. So at least I'm not sitting here like hunched over looking down at my iPad all day long. But I'd say if you are a person who's considering using iPad Pro full time, you have to consider the ergonomics of it. Like I'll still be using the Magic Trackpad a lot and things like that, but I think if I'm going to be doing anything longer than an hour session at a time, or I don't have enough variety between sitting, standing, doing other like basic stuff of working in an office environment, you just move around, as opposed to when you're at home, you might not as much. So definitely take that into consideration. Buy a stand if you need it, because it could mean the difference between you not being able to do your work and actually getting your work done. So I'm very curious because I haven't had, I don't know, it's been a couple of years since it's kind of one of those things that it's like, oh yeah, you should totally think about ergonomics. I'm sure I even recommended it on this show 6 months ago, but then it's like, yeah, but it's not going to affect me that much. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like I'm like walking around like, yeah, like I don't know. I want to definitely keep working on that. I want to like specifically work on those areas as well. Like getting a good shoulder massage twice for my girlfriend. I instantly felt my shoulder just like move back like 2 inches also. So if somebody can help work those muscles too, that's always good advice. But be careful, take care of your body if you're doing long working sessions, and be cautious of ergonomics on the iPad. And a big thing for a long time for me was reaching up on the screen. And now that we have the trackpad and stuff, that's not an issue anymore. So I want to know more from Apple about what they think about only buying an iPad and the ergonomics of it, because I mean, there's nothing they can say really, honestly. Like it's literally impossible to be ergonomic in itself by the way it comes. So, but it does have the USB-C screen features and things like that. So take advantage of those if you are going all in on this, because it's important.
Very well put. And you know, I had to think about that a little bit too, because picking up this hobby of knitting and crocheting involves a lot of repetitive movements, and I've noticed some pains in my arms and in my shoulders quite a bit actually in doing these different repetitive movements. And so I started to have to remember the different stretches that I had learned. A former partner was a massage therapist, and he had learned a lot about ergonomic stretches that you should do for your wrists and your hands. And so I kind of had to pick up on that again and remember it. It's one of those things that, unfortunately, when the pain's not there, well, I shouldn't say we as in everybody, because I'm sure there are some people, but for me, when the pain's not there, I don't think about it. But then the moment the pain starts happening, it's like, oh gosh, why wasn't I thinking about this? And I really am trying to be more cognizant of it for sure.
Yeah. Especially don't push through the pain, because that's like when something hurts, stop, because that's like something is wrong. And I tend to do that. Is like, oh, this is like kind of uncomfortable, but I just need to get this thing done. And it's like, you gotta move. And like a big thing that I did was just sitting on my couch and putting my feet up on like an ottoman thing and trying to use my iPad. And I'm pretty sure just like from one of my toes all the way like up the back of my spine has just been like irritated for the last 6 months straight. And so I have like probably, is it sciatica? I don't know how to say that.
Sciatica?
Sciatica. There you go. Wow. I knew it. I was going to say that wrong. But I mean, you've got that. You made a video you were back in the office when you made that, of like a good stretch to do. And our friend Kathy Campbell was also sending me ideas of stretches to do for that. So that's something I want to get down, because keeping yourself ergonomic in your setup is super important, and counteracting those things also goes a long way. Like, if I hadn't gotten that shoulder massage, I'm sure I'd still have some of that pain. So that stuff actually makes a big difference. And always, I would say, return the favor to the person who gives you a massage, because they usually want one as well.
Yes, always reciprocate. Always reciprocate. Alrighty, our last topic is, of course, our picks of the week. So tell me, Matthew, what is your pick of the week? Well, or should I do mine first?
Yeah, I was going to say mine's related to yours, so maybe you should go first.
Look, we talked about it last week, and I have to say that I'm very happy with my new Oculus Quest 2. There's a little part of me that's a little bit sad because it is supporting Facebook, and I don't like that. But I was looking for joy, and I was looking for, more importantly, activity, because I have not been as active as I should be. And this has provided both of those things in equal measures. Both me interacting with stuff with the Oculus, and then also enjoying watching my partner play the Oculus. So
yeah, that's the best.
He is a superhuman. I'll have to put mine on for our screenshot for the show, but I can't right now because I've got big old headphones on. He is a superhuman in that he does not get as affected by VR sickness as I do. And so he's able to play some games that I just simply could not play. There was this one game called Echo. I think it's called Echo VR, maybe. And you are an android kind of moving through this virtual world in 0G. It sounds cool. And for the mere moments that I was in it, it was super cool, but I couldn't play it because
that looks intense.
It moves your world around you. And there's this, I mean, it's a psychological thing behind it. If things are moving, but your body doesn't feel those things moving, if you don't feel the wind on your face, if you don't feel the movement of your body going forward or backward, and it's just movement that your eyes see and experience, then for some people it can be disorienting to the point that it causes nausea. And that is what it is for me. But he was able to play that. And more importantly, he was able to play he's a big Walking Dead fan. And so we got Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, and I've been watching him play that. The Oculus Quest 2 has an awesome feature where you, and I think it's all Oculus devices, but it's called casting. And basically on a device with the app, so iPad, iPhone, whatever, you hit this little button and it casts what's being seen in the Oculus to the app. And so I'm able to watch on the on my iPad or on my phone while he's playing, and I can kind of like be a part of it if I want to. And then it actually got me to give Google some money because I bought a Chromecast, because it also casts to Chromecast. So that way he can watch the TV while I'm playing, if he wants to watch me doing something, and I can, same for me. My biggest thing right now is Beat Saber. That's a lot of fun. I wish there was more music. We could play together.
Multiplayer. Yeah, there's multiplayer. It just came out like the day that the Oculus Quest came out. So
we
sweet. Totally have to do lightsaber music duels.
Were you good at like Rock Band and those games?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't play them a ton. Like I play the drums, so this is definitely like in my realm.
Okay, so basically what I'm trying to warn you is that I'm not great at it. I'm just okay at it. So I just don't want you to get upset whenever you're like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, oh, God.
I mean, it's like a competition, so I'm totally okay to just totally beat you. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. I mean, I don't know if you've seen some of the videos about Beat Saber, but oh my gosh, you should watch it because it's unreal. The people playing on absolute hard mode, and a lot of it just comes down to like doing moves and like choreography almost. So I'm really, really enjoying it because it's like, I think being a drummer, it's right in that realm there. Like I'm doing some stuff. I think it is, instead of doing more songs, you just play the same ones on harder modes and try to get into those. So I'm definitely enjoying the challenge, but it's so fun. It's, for anyone who doesn't know, it's Guitar. Is it Guitar Hero? I don't remember what the name. Yeah, Guitar Hero, but with, you basically have lightsabers sticking out of your Oculus controllers, and then you're playing and like slashing the notes as they come by. So you're doing all this fancy stuff, and it's so entertaining.
It's
the
so
Echo
much
VR
fun.
one looks like Ender's Game to me. Was like,
Yeah.
for anybody who watched that or read the book, it's very similar. So it's so cool. And I'll say my pick of the week for anyone who is also getting into this realm, because you couldn't see it if you were listening, but I have one as well and was stuck it on my face just to get the shot. But there's virtual desktop for, right now it works really well for PCs, but they have a Mac OS beta. And so I was trying that, and I was using my Mac from in VR, and I was just like, I mean, what I love about the Quest is that I'm just grinning like an idiot half the time, because it's just like, this is so cool. This is very fun. It's a really high-end, it's like a very good VR headset for what is fairly affordable. Like it's still $300, $400 if you get the expansion thing, but compared to having to buy a PC and everything, I think it is kind of like the first consumer-ready VR headset for real. And I've seen developers who make their apps are like, our sales just increased by 10 times. So it does seem like a ton of people bought this and are super interested in it. So, and it's kind of only just getting started with the Quest 2 stuff. So this is, I want to try not to overemphasize it in the show, because it is like smart home adjacent. It's still kind of the media thing there, but it is very interesting stuff, especially with all the investments in AR in the last few years. It could kind of come to fruition with this product. So virtual desktop, maybe next episode we'll have to do the entire thing wearing our VR headsets.
Yeah. We'll have to think about that. Folks, that brings us to the end of another episode of Smart Tech Today. Wow, we've done it. I am excited that I don't know what I'm excited about. I don't know where I was going with
Everything.
that. I'm excited about it all, but you can email us if you're excited.
Not the whole.
stt@twit.tv. Your questions. We really enjoyed last episode. It was a question and answer episode. Answering all your questions was a lot of fun. And so we would be happy to hear more. If you've got more, we want to answer them for you. And we record the show live. So if you want to tune in live and hang out with us while we chat about smart tech, well, that's every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. But the best way to get the show is to subscribe to it. twit.tv/STT, where you can subscribe in both audio and video formats on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the casts, VR cast, everywhere. We're there. And we are happy that you subscribe. Matthew Cassinelli, if folks want to follow you online and check out all the great work that you're doing, where do they go to do that?
You can go to MatthewCassinelli.com to check out all of my series shortcuts and my membership stuff. And then also /newsletter on my website. I've just sent out issue 6 of my newsletter now. So there's lots of fun stuff for people to get every week, which is fun. What about you?
You can find me online. I am at Mikah Sargent on pretty much all of the social media networks, including now Telegraph. Telepath.
Gram?
That's Telegram. Is it Telegram or Telepath? Telepath.
Sorry.
I'm at Mikah Sargent on Telepath, the new social media network that I'm really enjoying quite a bit. And then, of course, you can head to chihuahua.coffee. That's CHIHUAHUA.coffee, where I've got links to all the things I do online. All righty, folks, it is time to say good afternoon to your smart assistants.
Siri, shut it down.
I'm Jason Howell, host of Tech News Weekly here on TWiT.tv, along with my co-host, Mikah Sargent. Each and every week, we talk to people who are making and breaking the tech news. It could be journalists writing amazing tech stories. It could be experts. It could be the sources of the stories themselves, developers, you name it. We bring them onto the show, and we talk to them about why their story is resonating with the world. You can watch and subscribe by going to twit.tv/TNW. Make sure you do that, and you won't miss a single episode. We'll see you there.